Times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
9:02. Good morning. Thank you very much for tuning in to The Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We're broadcasting in Nairobi, you're 94.4. We're in 87.9 Mombasa, 102.5 in Kisumu, Nakuru, 96.0, Nyeri, 90.9, 97.7 in Malindi. And those of us listening to us from Eldoret, it's 96.7. And the woman rep for Western Gishu County, Gladys boss Shollei, is in the studio. She joins us in the hot seat this morning. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us, Gladys.
Good morning, and thank you. Everyone in Western Gishu was asking me, what channel is Spice FM?
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
And of course, you can also join in via our digital platforms. We are live streaming the show on www.spicefm.co.ke. We're also live streaming on Facebook, Spice FM, on YouTube, and on Twitter @SpiceFM.
Thank you.
Asante sana for joining us. Did we see you at yesterday's press conference by the what we call the Tanga wing of Jubilee Coalition?
No, I wasn't at the press conference, but I was part of the deliberations.
Right.
Yes.
So you're talking about joining the meetings this weekend.
Yes.
And why haven't you joined the previous two meetings?
You know, the whole process, the BBI process, was supposed to have brought Kenyans together, according to what the president said. And then it has now become a tool that has divided Kenyans. They are going about it the wrong way. They have turned it into political platforms. This was supposed to, they should have stayed to how they had done it at the beginning, which was town hall type meetings. Yeah. You know, that's when actually Wananchi can engage. But now, when you go and make it a showdown of politicians, exercising their political muscle, and trying to see who's bigger than the other person, then it's no longer about Wananchi. In fact, it has divided Kenya. And I'm really sad. In fact, I don't think Uhuru Kenyatta intended it to go this way. And I think somebody should let him know. Because I don't know if he's watching the news and seeing what happened. You cannot go to a political forum and it became about William Ruto. They were insulting William Ruto at the political forum. So is that joining Kenyans? And let me tell you...
How exactly did they insult the deputy president?
I think if you listen to Atwali's speech, he said William Ruto will never be president. So if you are saying that this is about unity and its inclusivity, then you should be telling Kenyans, people, whoever you decide as Kenyans to elect will become the president. Not that... There are certain people
who will never be.
Yes.
So you're against the holding of this kind of meetings as political rallies.
Yes, yeah. I want it to be town hall meetings where you engage with the public. Remember what we were told in Bomas.
Those two don't go together because one, you want political town hall meetings where the committee is engaging with the people one-on-one, and then at the same time you're saying we are going to attend the Mombasa meeting.
You see, now we are politicians. We can't also be left out. As much as we don't agree with the manner in which it is being conducted, we cannot be left outside. And that is why you find someone like Musalia and Wetangula eventually went. Because also, if you stay out, what happens is you don't have a chance to put your voice. Yeah. But if you looked at the manner in which they conducted the first season 1 of BBI, it was just going to the Wananchi. There were no politicians there causing political statements and so on. So why don't they stick to that methodology? But also, we are being taken for fools as Kenyans. Because first you tell us that you're going to disseminate the report to Kenyans. And then you say we are also getting their views. Methodology, first of all, teaching methodology is wrong. You are supposed to disseminate, then sit back and come back after a couple of months. Then public can now have views. But you cannot be making us look like, I mean, you can't lie to us. Are we idiots? That you go lecture Wananchi about the document.
That is dissemination.
Then 2 minutes later, somebody gives views. That means it was, it's a written memorandum.
Yeah.
An 18-page written memorandum that means it was written in advance. This is a predetermined process that is going on. So that is one. Number two, the BBI report there's nothing to argue in the BBI report about. I have read that document 100 times, and I can tell you the things it is saying are the things that we agree with as Kenyans. It says there is chronic unemployment. It says that the political and the economic systems have collapsed and are a catastrophe in the making. I'm quoting the BBI report. It is saying that there is chronic insecurity in Kenya. It is saying Kenyans don't feel safe. It is saying that
Kenyans don't trust their leaders.
They said Kenyans have no faith in their political and religious leaders.
Yes.
So the things that it is telling us that is wrong with our country are accurate. I was against the BBI report because I thought that the BBI report was intended to extend the term of the president. So I was against it. I also was against it because I said if it is going to create a referendum, that is not the manner in which to go to a referendum. There's only two ways of going to a referendum. Changing the constitution, either a popular initiative or the parliamentary initiative. So I was against it. But when I read the report, I was so deflated. I'm like, but we know this. I've even I've offered that I want to do the job pro bono. I will take that report and I will develop an implementation matrix. And I can tell you precisely which institutions should do what, which laws should be changed to implement the report. So why don't we just go to implementation? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country? We still have the Big Four agenda that Jubilee promised to implement. So why are we so unfocused as a country? And the things that are in the BBI report are things that can be solved by existing institutions. For example, inclusivity. That is chapter 4 of our constitution. All we need to do is get the National Gender and Equality Commission to do its job. We need to get the Kenya National Human Rights Commission to do its job. We need to get the National Cohesion and Integration Commission to do its job. So we have people who are driving Prados, earning 1 million shillings, no less, a month, to do that. And then now we want to do another BBI report to come and set it out.
So what I hear you saying essentially is that we have institutions and agencies mandated by government to do their job, but they're not doing their job, but somehow they're still there.
They are not doing their job. And also what is shocking is Uhuru Kenyatta is the head of state. He can crack the whip on these institutions to do the job. For example, the BBI report says we should broaden our tax base. That's why we have the Kenya Revenue Authority. That is what they are supposed to do from morning till evening for 365 days a year. That is their job. So how is it that we write a report and say broaden the tax base? Kwani, why do we have Kenya Revenue Authority? You know, this thing has become a joke taken too far. And I cannot understand why, and I'm asking you people in the media, and that's why I'm going to the media houses, because you people should help us and say this is a joke. When you tell me that we have insecurity in Kenya, we have the National Police Service, we have the Kenya Army, we have the National Intelligence Service, huge institutions that take a huge amount of Kenyan taxes. That is their job. So, and who is the commander-in-chief? It's the president. So why can't we let them do their job? The president should just run the country.
That is what the BBI report is basically highlighting. It's highlighting the fact that, well, there are people who are supposed to be doing their jobs and they're not. When you talk about, for example, lack of trust and faith in leadership, in political and religious leaders, you as politicians, you're the ones we are telling. We don't have faith in you. We don't have faith and trust in you.
And I think they shouldn't,
and it's important that the BBI report comes out and tells you that we don't have faith in you.
And we don't have faith with reason. Part of it is politicians tend to solve many problems with words. And we hear a lot of it. Now, for many citizens, the BBI is just more words. But let me get to the BBI. That we have political rallies, we understand, and what you're saying is true. But does it detract from the fact that the BBI team that was gazetted recently cannot go about their business as they were mandated to do? Does it mean they cannot?
I think I could not even comprehend why we were having the Kisii and the Kakamega rally, the manner in which we did it.
Those are politicians doing their thing.
It means but even the president as head of state must call off this BBI manner in which it's being conducted. It is his job to do that because he started it. First of all, he had a manifesto, the Jubilee manifesto. He said he'll create jobs, he'll increase the economy, I don't know, he'll do what, which we all bought into. And we bought into that idea. Now, he has made a report, he has commissioned and launched a report that says he has failed. Himself. He has castigated himself. Because the things in the BBI report that are the problems he said he will resolve. Now he's writing to tell himself about the problems again. When he was running for presidency, he told us he's going to solve those problems. So I want you people to read. In fact, next time invite me to this show, I'll take you through the Jubilee manifesto, and then I will take you through the BBI report. You can see whatever we have complained about in the BBI report is what Uhuru Kenyatta had analyzed himself.
And William Ruto. It's a joint ticket.
Yes, a joint ticket. So presidency is both, But you always refer to the leader. So when they made that...
when we were electing them, we were electing Uhuruto.
Yes.
It was a package deal.
Yes.
It was a package deal.
When they were campaigning, when they were selling these promises, they were selling the promises together.
Yes. So now, but when I speak about Uhuru, I'm talking about
the
also
presidency.
William Ruto. I'm talking about the presidency.
Okay.
So you can see they had a very good analysis of the challenges of Kenyans. Look at 2013 to 2017. They increased, our road network was 5,000 kilometers since independence. In 5 years, they built 11,000 kilometers of road. They connected 7 million homes to electricity. They built the SGR, things we never achieved since independence. So I wish they could just focus on what they had said they would do.
But despite all that, when it came to 2017, at the end of 2017, we had some political issues in the country.
There was a rift in the country at
we
some point.
had an election that was disputed, and it was pointing us back to where we were in 2007, just merely 10 years earlier. And that's why there was a handshake, first of all, right? And the handshake was saying, look, we've had a political tensions here, and let's resolve these political tensions. From a BBI task force that looks at what is the root cause of this. Why do we end up having, and the BBI talks about, is it 2 years safe versus 3 years of political turmoil, or the other way around, 3 versus 2? Why do we have this kind of tensions all the time? And what is the long-term solution for it?
We have these tensions because somebody has refused to concede defeat. If you look at it, political tension happens during elections. Look at how the Obama and the Hillary Clinton campaigns were. Look at the ones of Hillary Clinton and Trump. They were very heated. That is normal in politics. But what is different is that whoever loses must accept defeat. But if we are going to say that you will not be accepting defeat and then you will cause chaos until somebody shakes your hand, then is that the right way to go? Is this going to be a democracy?
Mheshimiwa, you are entering some fairly interesting territory here, because you're stating as facts that there is an individual who always refuses to accept defeat, and yet we will talk about a Supreme Court ruling that seemed to have agreed with him. You are talking about someone who creates chaos, and that there'll be a narrative of people who are saying, but a particular community was targeted by the government. The same sort of narrative we're now hearing among our politicians who are saying they're being targeted by the government.
In 2013, Gladys, the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, at that point, after the Supreme Court ruling, he issued a statement and he said, I accept. I do not agree, but I accept. He accepted defeat. In 2017, he accepted, yes, even after having that...
but he caused chaos, machozi Mondays, etc.
The issue of the swearing in and all. But the reason why he was even doing a handshake is accepting. I accept. I am accepting. You are the president.
But then
you are
he's making the acceptance with conditions.
And shouldn't he?
He can, but provided they don't break up the country apart.
Mheshimiwa, you're a politician. And I think one of the things that politicians do...
I'm a technocrat turned politician. I'm not too sure if I'm a real politician.
Actually,
you're joining the two.
You're transitioning.
Right. I think you're in an even better position than most politicians who are rabble rousers and know how to get to the grassroots. you have technical knowledge, you even know how the government actually works. So when you're in a political position, I would argue you're actually better placed than most of the people with whom you share that house to understand and do certain things. Now, that our country is what it is, we accept. That there have been divisions, we also accept. And as you say, it is a good thing when people have differences of views and they air it so. But what you call causing disturbances, one could argue they're airing grievances. They feel that things have not worked out as they think they should, or even their own rights have been violated. Because if you look at the complaints that came around in 2017, it wasn't just about the election. It was about the election results, and there were complaints around other things that had, you see, with every complaint, they rehash other things that had happened previously. So it becomes one big ball of fire. Are we saying, therefore, that these complaints had no validity?
No, I mean, the thing is, the argument that was placed before the Supreme Court challenged the process. They didn't challenge, they challenged the manner in which the votes were tallied and so on. And remember that there had been no less than, I think, 30 cases filed by Katiba Institute and other people asking for verification on the manner in which votes should be counted, or whether the electronic version is valid or which one it becomes valid. And I believe it's a good thing for democracy, because when you go to court, you allow the court to clarify.
Yep.
After that, the court clarified. And after that, Parliament moved and made some amendments to the law so that we don't have that challenge going forward. So I think going to court was in order, because it also allows us to clarify the issue of the after going to court. What I didn't agree with is after going to court and then you start demonstrating against IEBC. Now that is disrespecting independent institutions which are established under the Constitution. We can't do that as normal citizens or as people who are law-abiding. It is not the right thing to do. I consider that almost juvenile. It's like my little son throwing a tantrum and throwing himself on the floor until he gets his way.
Were they breaking the law?
Let's take a short break and then we continue the conversation. Allow Gladys boss Shollei, our guest on the hot seat this morning, to take a sip of water, and then the conversation continues. Remember, you can join the conversation on our social media platforms, Spice FM KE, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as YouTube, and our website, www.spicefm.co.ke. 19 minutes after 9. Good morning.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So let's go back into the conversation on the BBI and the way forward for BBI. Of course, now we know there's a report that's out. The BBI task force's mandate and term has been extended. There's a 30-member technical team that has been set up to look into what is in the report and see how to break it down into an implementation matrix. What requires...
You don't need 30 people. I can do it in 2 days.
You can do it pro bono as
in
one.
2 days.
But
I've asked for that job.
So now that we have political... So we have two things that are happening. We have political rallies, which you've said you're going to join, and also organize your own parallel political rallies. Did we get that right?
Yes.
So why do you want to organize parallel rallies? Why not just join this movement and do the rallies together?
No, but you see, the thing is, we are supposed to try and disseminate the report as far as possible to members of the public. And I think our people look at us as leaders for direction. So we cannot let them down by saying we're not going to attend any of the rallies or that we are not going to continue in the dissemination. But as we speak, I can tell you something. The government printer has not printed that report. I was told by Amos Waku that there was only a soft copy because of secrecy. But when I look at that report, there's nothing secret in the report. And then he said that they are going to, because I asked him, I would like to have a copy. Then he said that they had given a contract to someone to print them overseas. So we are still waiting. Do you have a copy?
It's on the website.
Yes, but how many Kenyans have it on the website? If you look at the standards of civic education...
As good leaders, you can actually download it from the website and print it. You don't need to wait for the government printer. If you're holding these political rallies around the country, how are you going to disseminate the information?
No, we are going to... You see, if you notice, listen to Bukungu Stadium. Was there any explanation about the report? No. It was political talk. Nobody explained the report to anyone.
But you want to do it differently. That's what I'm saying.
We want to try and do it differently. Yeah. But it is not my job to underwrite the government. If the government started this process and they've been earning allowances, those BBI groups, yes.
They must finish the process.
Yeah, they're having vehicles, etc. It is their job and part of the budget that they must disseminate it. And if they want it disseminated, the correct way to do it, you can use IEBC. IEBC has a Directorate of Civic Education and a Directorate of Voter Education. There are people who are professionals and know how to break down information to persons.
Yeah.
They will be the ones who will produce even flyers on different parts of the report. So we can't do it in a pedestrian manner. Kenyans is not a country of fools.
Which is why I'm calling you out, Gladys.
So you wouldn't be doing anything differently either.
You're doing exactly the same thing.
You would be doing the same
against.
thing, isn't it?
Sorry?
You wouldn't be doing anything different from what this the other group is doing. As for what we're saying, it would just be another political rally, wouldn't it be? It wouldn't be civic education.
We haven't started it. We haven't started it.
So there's still time to pull out.
So I'm still waiting. And remember, I don't make the decision alone. I mean, we have a political party. We have a caucus of certain leaders. And I have to listen to them. But I will weigh in on my ideas on the manner it should be done. I can ask people to look at the Bridge and Electoral Network website. There is standards set internationally, which Kenya is a member of. I was a member of it when I was at IEBC. It tells you the manner in which to disseminate information to the public. We did it during the time of the referendum. We had different chapters in simple words, in different languages being given to the public. We had referendum committees. We had one led by Martha Karua. There was another one led by Bishop Karaoke. There was another one different. And Uhuru Kenyatta was the deputy prime minister at that time. And he was also the minister of finance. I remember going to his office and pleading with him to fund the referendum committees. Because I told him, if we do not fund the referendum committees to disseminate the information to the public, then this referendum will not become legitimate. And he did provide 10 billion shillings for us to do that. We gave it to... So it's not something he doesn't know. He knows. He's worked in government.
Now that we're talking about the referendum and referendum committees, as a member of parliament, it'll be your role or your duty to actually ensure we have a referendum law, right? We don't have a referendum law in place. What's the status of that?
No, I mean, the thing is, there's nothing called... we already have the chapter on representation of the people that is in the Constitution. We also have the IEBC Act. We also have the Political Parties Act. We've had a referendum before. So it is possible for us to be able to hold a referendum if they want us to do that. But the question we should be asking ourselves, with the way the country is going at the moment, is a referendum our top priority? Because we know that every year, every time we have elections, the economy goes down. Ask Treasury, ask IMF, ask David D. They will tell you. If you look at the graph, we drop during elections.
Not because
so
of
you
the
have to tell us
because of the politics surrounding
because
this.
of the politics. So as a country who is doing badly economically, if I was the head of state, I would ask myself, do I want to take my country, the economy is doing badly, you want to take us to a referendum and then take us again to an election in 2022? And if they want to have a referendum question, we can actually put it together in 2022 with the questions. That would be even a more efficient way. Because we are a broke country. I don't know why we are behaving like we have money to throw away.
Actually, tell us, because I believe that you represent a class of people who actually help us govern the country.
Yeah.
Why are we behaving this way?
Why were we behaving like that?
Well,
because they are selfish leaders. Because they are selfish leaders. Everything starts from the top. Everything starts from the top.
Yes.
So even I know that I had an opportunity to listen to the CS Treasury when he appeared before my committee to try and help
current
us.
one.
The current CS Treasury, yes. He was acting at that time. And he came before my committee. He made an impassioned plea and told us that the country is going down because we were borrowing domestically from local banks, which was charging us at 9% with a shorter period, which means it was a very expensive loan.
Extremely.
He came and he said, we want to retire all domestic loans and be able to borrow internationally. But in order to borrow internationally, they had to improve their credit rating, which means we had to increase the debt ceiling to 9 trillion. And at that time, I remember we discussed with our committee. People in my committee were very angry at first, and they said, we are not going to be paying for the sins of Uhuru Kenyatta and his mandarins in treasury. But I remember telling them, you know what, this is for our country. If we don't retire these domestic loans, the country will go down. So I do my part when I'm required to do it, and when I have the power to do it, and the influence to do it, in order to do the right things for my country.
Did we retire these domestic loans?
Now, that is the part we don't know. Yes, and I think maybe...
We raised the ceiling, didn't we?
We raised the ceiling.
Sorry, you raised the ceiling on our behalf. That perhaps...
We raised the ceiling
so
that we can borrow at 1%.
Yes.
And usually they give you a longer term loan.
Yes.
Yes, so we did that. We were assured by the Treasury that they will retire the domestic loans. What I would like to ask people in the media, because you are the ones who can help Kenyans, can you investigate and find out, did they retire the domestic loans
in the first place?
Yes.
What did the CS promise? I'm sure you must have asked. Once we give you this,
what are you going to do, and in
what
time?
What are the timelines?
They said they would retire the domestic loans.
By what time?
And he said that he will, because now he's required to report to the budget committee and the finance committee.
Yes.
So he's now, after he left my committee, he is required to go and make that report. And even he hasn't made it, he'll be required to make it anyway before he tables the current budget for the 20, in June.
The 20.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll catch up with him.
Okay. So then in terms of catching up, there's a question we often ask, and we keep it out there asking, but now that you're here, let's ask it directly. How then do we keep leaders accountable? These things that you say that you're going to do, or these promises that you make, how then do we make sure that they're actually done? The people, again, are the ones who are at the center of all of this. Or as when the big ones clash, the grass suffers, as they say. How do we keep leaders accountable to make sure that
and that's why I think I always believe that when people are well informed, then they will know how to keep their leaders accountable. If they don't have the information, then how do you know your leader has failed you or has not done what they've done? And that's where, again, as the media, you have to help us. You have to disseminate this information, because if you tell people your people failed in doing this. For example, I know...
We hold you accountable because we've given you the job of holding the government accountable, right? That's our role as well. And that's why we ask you. So when the CS comes and convinces you that you need to increase our debt ceiling to 9 trillion shillings, you must have asked, by when do you want to retire?
He said he would report to the, because also we have to do it through the process. He said he will report. He would retire them, and he would be reporting as per schedule during the budget hearings to the budget committee. And I know when we go back on recess, that is when we will now see if he has done it. Because also we can make that demand, but it has to go through the necessary processes. Yes. And I, as somebody who has worked in government and has been involved in budgeting for many, many years, I know that you cannot require him to have done the report until the budget hearings start in February. Okay, they've started a bit now, but February is when they'll pick up in earnest. So then at that time, you can invite me to the show, and then I can be able to tell you if he has done it.
Found out.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Gladys Shollei is the woman rep for Uasin Gishu County. Remember, she says she is a technocrat who has joined politics, and she's doing a very good job in politics as well.
Oh yeah, and I can tell you that my committee, which I chair, has been rated as the best performing committee in Parliament.
Which committee
we have
is this?
The Committee on Delegated Legislation. We have given in the highest number of reports in the history of Parliament. So I am doing my job and a good job at it.
We will discuss one of those reports when we come out of this short break. 9:30. Good morning. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. .1 Spice FM. Kisi. Traffic.
All right, so taking quite a lot of time to get where you're going this morning. Unfortunately, Mombasa Road seems to be the culprit today. Quite a lot of traffic today, as other days, unfortunately. Coming off of Thika Road as well, it seems to be causing a problem. Quite that, a lot of traffic getting to the CBD. No alternatives right now because the southern and eastern bypasses are being used, but still that is quite the thing. Okay, the far left lane is usually reserved for cars coming from Langata Road, as we know, coming off Mombasa Road, but that has been obstructed by construction that's going on, and also Matatus have used that as a second lane today. So the traffic is of epic proportions now, and that has built up over the last hour. We'll see how we can get out of that, but for now this is where we are. Ngong Road getting to the City Mortuary roundabout also posing a bit of a problem inbound and outbound, and also getting into the city centre. Waiyaki Way is a little better than it was earlier, but still slow. A little bit past where we should be seeing such high levels of traffic, but let's see what it looks like in a short while. Spice FM KE, if you have any information you'd like to share, or give us a call, 0719 012 600.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
In the
Mornings
situation this
done
morning,
right.
Eric Lati,
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Gladys Shollei, the woman rep for Wasingishu County, the chairperson of the Committee on the National Assembly on Delegated Legislation. She's a former registrar of the judiciary, former IEBCC. You have, good CV. So tell us about this Committee on Delegated Legislation. What exactly do you do?
What happens when there's an act of Parliament, then Parliament has delegated the power to make regulations, which is a subsidiary legislation, to certain regulatory making authorities. So there are some regulations can be made by different ministers or institutions and so on. And so when they make those regulations, they publish them, but they're required to come to the Committee on Delegated Legislation for approval. For example, the drones. Remember, there was the drone regulations. Right. We nullified those ones, and now we are under discussion to prepare fresh regulations. Which are the examples?
Private security regulations.
Yeah, private security regulations. They've been that. Biashara fund regulations also, which we nullified. But we've people know about the ones we nullify. But actually, we have approved. We have approved, I think, 125 pieces of regulations.
All right.
And then we have nullified about 30. And what happens is, actually, the law that applies to the ordinary Wananchi is actually delegated legislations. Yes, because and it's like, and for me, I'm enjoying it because that's that's my cup of tea. Yes, my forte. That's what I. So it's exciting.
Let's talk about one of those regulations. We discussed them here a couple of weeks back. The regulations on private security, right? Of course, your committee rejected those regulations. Yes. Why? What issues did you have?
Yeah, first of all, they didn't undertake a proper public participation within the threshold that was required. They also
closer to the mic.
Oh, sorry. So there was poor public participation, didn't meet the threshold. There was also challenges where they had indicated that there were certain payments you have to make in order to be able to have a private security company.
Yep.
And what would have happened is only 3 companies would have been the ones to remain in business.
Licensed.
That was going to be G4S, KK, I think. And so it was going to kill all the local.
Why?
Because they were requiring them to make a lot of payments. They were requiring them that you have to pay a guard. Right now, I think the cheapest guard you can get is 32,000 shillings if you're a day guard.
Yeah.
That's what you pay to the owner of the company.
The owner of the company.
Okay.
But there is also challenges in terms of a lot of these people don't pay. They don't pay what is it called, the minimum wage.
Yeah.
So they also mistreat the guards.
Yes.
So what we told them is you people need to go back, hear what the guards have to say. Also, give us a time frame that allows that when we pass these regulations, they don't collapse the local security companies. Because these people hire 500,000 people. We cannot let that...
Those are many jobs to lose.
Yeah, that's many jobs to lose. So, yes, I think the regulations had some good things, but the also regulations had some things that are going to be damaging. And what we said is the good thing about this is we can allow you to go and consult again and ensure that we come up with regulations that does not harm anyone.
Right.
Yes.
Something else stood out for us in those regulations, and this is where the regulations allow, and even the law allows the head of security agencies, in this particular case, say the IG of police, to co-opt the private security companies into some operations of the security organs. And they say that during that kind of operation, the private security officer will have the powers and the rights of a police officer. And we were asking ourselves, is this a backdoor route of getting private security contractors or the government outsourcing security to private security companies?
You see, if the police, even if today there was an operation that needs to be done, the police can co-opt even you as a Wananchi to go and help in the security operation. So that is a normal standard, except that this time they wanted to put it in the regulations so that they can be able to use a private security firm whom they think. Because let me tell you, the police can't do all the security in Kenya.
Yeah.
So that one, we didn't have a problem. We didn't have a problem with that.
The problem that we were seeing, that I was seeing, for example, is looking at the case of Iraq, for instance, where we see the American military hiring private security contractors, and then those contractors are the ones who are running some shoddy operations. So when you come up with issues of, abuse of human rights, it's a private security company that conducted that was involved. The military is left clean.
No,
Same kind of issues we have had in the country. We've had very many NGOs complaining about extrajudicial killings and bad treatment of human rights treatment by security organs. If the security agencies subcontract a certain company called Latif Security Consultants, and we are the ones who go and shoot people and kill people, a new Wagala massacre comes up, the government will come out and say, you know what, we had hired Eric. In fact, Eric has been jailed and his company has been shut down, and the government is
But that is why it is good to put it in the regulation. Because when you put it in the regulation, at that time, they're under the command of the IG, which means the government will be responsible for their
Directly.
actions, which means the government can be asked to pay compensation for any actions of that particular private security firm at the time. When you leave it open the way it is now, that's when you can divorce yourselves and says that is nothing to do with us.
Right.
But now, when you put it in the regulations, it's even better because then it makes the government responsible for the actions of those persons.
All right. Something else that you've also been pushing in the National Assembly, this is to do with pesticides. Tell us about that.
Yes. I put in I filed a pesticide petition before the floor of the House. It has been taken to it's currently before the Health Committee. And it is, basically what I'm saying is there is 262 pesticides that we are using in Kenya that have been withdrawn from the UK market, from the US market, and the entire Europe because they have been confirmed to cause certain diseases, one of them being cancer. There is a product that is being used in Kenya, yet in America, the court the courts have declared that they were the direct cause of cancer, and many of those persons are being paid now. And many of the people who are affected are people who are running, they were gardeners in golf courses or in schools, and they've been paid. Yet in Kenya, we are still allowing those pesticides to be sold in Kenya. And I had the opportunity to work with the top scientists across the world. I was supported by Root to Food Initiative, an NGO, and the Hedrick Ball Foundation, and they did a desk review. And we are asking, I've told the Pesticide Control Board in Kenya, you do not require a task force. These have already been confirmed as causing cancer in other countries. Just remove them from our shelf. And it's not going to affect us because we are importing 13,000 tons, 13,000 types of pesticides. So even if we remove these 200, it's not going to affect farmers.
Is there any bottlenecks to having them removed?
No, it is corruption by the Pesticide Control Board. In fact, that board must resign because they don't know, they know, but they are being bribed by the pesticide companies. When I put the petition in Parliament, everyone supported me. I never got a single person objecting to it. But do you know who was objecting? The Pesticide Control Board. In fact, on
what are they objecting to exactly?
They are saying that those things don't cause cancer. That Kenyans, the farmers are going to collapse because they need the pesticides to kill, the pesticides. Then I asked them, we can use the others. Just remove these 262. And if other countries who have better scientists than us and better technology than us for detecting this have said it is bad for our country, why don't we remove it? In fact, I remember so it was only Pesticide Control Board that attacked me. And then there was also, some of the pesticide companies said to me that they're going to sue me for defamation.
Have they sued you?
No, they haven't, because they can't sue me. I'm too clever for that. Because the thing is, I did not mention the product name. I mentioned the chemical ingredients. So when they called me and told me they'll sue me, I told them I could foresee that. I'm a lawyer. How am I going to? I'm not going to get
myself up for that.
I'm not going to set up myself for that. Right. So now they've not been able to do anything. When the Pesticide Control Board CEO, I think, or somebody senior, appeared on a television show with one of our scientists, he almost beat up the girl. She had to walk out of the show. So you ask yourself, what are you so obsessed about keeping this pesticide to the extent that you want to beat somebody up? Then it just shows your vested interest. They are being bribed by those companies. And remember, those companies are they are allowed, the law in the UK and the US allows a company to produce a product that has been withdrawn from their market, provided they export it. So how stupid are we as Kenyans? That we are killing our own people. And by the way, this, if you look at the research, you will be shocked. And it's unfortunate I didn't bring the white paper. I'll bring for you. And you'll see the highest prevalence of cancer in Kenya is in Kirinyaga County. And the highest use of those banned pesticides is in Kirinyaga County. There is a correlationship. And what we are saying is, let's not beat our minds, remove it. If other countries have removed it, why are we allowing it into our country? And all that needs to happen is the Pesticide Control Board should just deregister them in Kenya.
Just deregister them, and then they're not allowed to operate in this country.
But it's a really difficult situation, because I was even using those chemicals on my own farm.
Right.
Without realizing.
I didn't know. It's only when I got involved in this research, and I thank my son, who is a farmer, and he has decided to go into organic farming and things like that. And he began to tell me about the pesticides. And initially I thought, and he give me all these write-ups. And so when I ended up getting very interested in it. And then based on that, I now got an NGO to fund me, because of course I'm not a scientist, so I wouldn't be able to get all the information. And we did that. And so the day I tabled the petition was actually on my son's 22nd birthday, because I wanted to dedicate it to him, because he's the one who inspired me. I didn't know.
What's the status of this petition now?
It's before the health committee. They are going to be summoning the Pesticide Control Board. They'll be summoning KEFIs, and I'm very confident that they will be ordered by the committee to remove them from the market. Because there was no one in the committee. I mean, everyone is like, this cancer, there's no one who has not been affected by cancer in Kenya. And everybody knows someone. If you don't have cancer, you know someone who has cancer. or
Isn't there a
someone in your
likelihood
family.
of corruption creeping into those committees, into Parliament, to ensure that this thing does
No,
not?
I was worried because they had planned to spend a lot of money. They had said they even threatened to bribe the committees, the committee members. But one thing that I was sure about, the committee members, everyone is affected by cancer. So what has happened is this one, they are not going to budge. Yeah, that one I was they just said, because people, when you have somebody in your family who has cancer,
Right.
are you going to be the one who takes money?
It touches you directly.
Yes, so I think this one, politicians are not, they have some ethics kidogo.
They do.
A little bit on this one, eh? All right.
This is one of those
This is one.
instances.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
But
13 minutes to 10 o'clock. This is the situation room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. We have Gladys Shollei, the Member of Parliament for Uasin Gishu County.
The
She's
city
also
of champions
the city of champions, Eldoret.
and home of Eliud Kipchoge.
Where all those things. She's also the chair,
I'm a show off, right?
completely, the chair of the Committee on Delegated Legislation. We'll be talking about the kind of work that she's been doing in the National Assembly. We'll come back and talk about national politics again. So, because you are a member of the National Assembly, so we'll talk about national politics shortly. Good morning. It's a 13 to 10.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM. .1 Spice FM. Kisi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The volume of imported insecticides, herbicides, and fungicides has more than doubled in the 4 years from 6,400 tons in 2015 to 15,600 tons in 2018, with a growth rate of 144%. This is worrying because the increase in the pesticide use has not been accompanied with the necessary safeguards to control how they are applied and how they are used. Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, KEFIS, has been contravening Section 15 of the Pest Control Product Act by failing to publish available information on the actual levels of pesticide in food samples collected and putting in place regular monitoring systems.
So yes, we had to play that. This is you when you were. Did you recognize yourself?
No, I was wondering, that voice is familiar, then I realized it was me.
Yes. When you were raising the petition in the
Yes.
National Assembly. So you said it's before the Health Committee.
Yes.
And we're waiting now for it to go through the cause. Back to BBI. You are going to be in Mombasa, but then we're also seeing that a team that has been selected by we're now calling them BBI Tanga A and BBI Tanga B belong to Tanga
We're not
B.
even sure.
Right? So BBI, the other BBI
No, I belong to
team.
Inua Mama, not Tanga.
Aha!
Okay.
Okay.
Enter another dimension of
Oh,
things.
no. It's a branch.
It's a branch of Tanga
Is it
B.
a branch of Takatanga?
Yes.
Okay. So.
It's a branch of Tanga. But you see, we also wanted our women's voices to be heard,
Right.
because I did not want to be under Murkomen and Kimani Chungwa. We need to define ourselves.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, the meetings that are scheduled for North Rift, we have a team that is actually been set up to organize the meetings for the North Rift. We know the Elgeyo Marakwet governor is leading that. And we're also seeing now you leaders from the North Rifts are saying, we are many. We can join this team and organize either a parallel meeting or organize the same meeting. What is it that you
Eric,
want
I
to
don't even think that's the issue here.
You want to take over?
No. If politicians are talking about a political process, that's one thing. The question I would ask is, what have they told their supporters?
No, you see, the thing is, you cannot, now that I look at politics, you cannot be left outside. Because had we said we stay away, and then these guys go to Bukungu, go to Kakamega, they're going to make us irrelevant as politicians. So we've decided, you know what, we are going to fight this from inside. We shall deal with it. So but even in any case, let me, you know what
So
maybe it's good for me to
participate in creating tension in the country.
No.
Right.
I think
to also clarify then really what is being fought, because we're going to ask ourselves, what's the battle here?
But there is no battle. Okay, let me put it clearly.
Yes.
That document, there is nothing. It is a useless document. It is, I called it the Book of Lamentations. It tells us all the problems we have in Kenya. The question I'm asking, can we just design ways of addressing our problems? So there is even nothing to object. In fact, I was a very big objector of this document before it came out. But later, when we read it, I said there's nothing to object to. So we have accepted. So I don't even know why you're taking it to the people. Hakuna mtu amekataa.
So what will you be doing in Mombasa? When the others are talking about it, you'll be lamenting.
You know, we'll
in the same meeting.
You know, in fact, I'm going to tell people this is what BBI has, and what we need is to implement the BBI report. Period. We don't need to be going around talking to Kenyans.
Mheshimiwa, you know you've avoided the question I asked. I understand.
Ask the question again.
And I actually love the way you've deflected it. Excellent. Now, let's go back to the question.
What is our people say? What have I told my people in the ground?
What have you told your people, not you, this particular group of politicians, what message have you given the people in your backyard about the BBI?
Even if it is the woman of Inua Mama.
Yes. Okay, what I have done in myself in Wasingishu, I've explained to people and told them the BBI report has nothing objectionable. Because our people in Wasingishu, their fear was that it was intended to sideline William Ruto. You must remember that, That is his home.
How did they arrive at this conclusion?
Yes.
No, I'm just telling you what they
feel.
That's how they
what
feel.
you had told them earlier.
No, we had not told them that, but you know, Kenyans have a way of interpreting things by themselves.
Especially when assisted by politicians.
Yeah, so the people, so the people of Wasingishu, I know that what they asked me, the biggest fear was, asasa people wanataka kutupa mtu yetu, you know, and then they are saying we supported these people. Now they want to throw us out. So that is the street talk, You know, I'm telling you, not what Gladys is saying.
Yes.
This is the street talk that is there.
Word on the ground.
So what I've been telling people, no, do not worry. You people, bora muko na sisi, hakuna mtu anaweza kutupa. Because even if these people throw us out, it's only 2 votes, Raila Odinga's vote and Uhuru Kenyatta's vote. So I told them, bora nyinyi muko na sisi, tuko sawa. So we've been calming people down. And also, what has been a very big stabilizing factor in Wasingishu is the fact that they can see that MPs from Central Kenya are supporting William Ruto. That is the only thing that is stabilizing it. But had it happened that the president is looking like he's not supporting William Ruto, and then all the MPs from Central, then I think the mood would have been very bad.
What is your perception, Gladys? Do you think the president is supporting William Ruto?
You know,
is there a rift between these two?
Is there a rift between the two?
You're allowed to avoid this one.
No, actually, you see, the thing is, I don't spend time with both of them, so that I would not know. You know, whether they are still together, but
that's why I use
but people are looking at
from
it
the direction in which the smoke is blowing. Gladys.
Yes, you can see there's obviously something wrong. What I know is I can see that the president has not called a parliamentary group meeting for Jubilee. That is odd. Number 2, we can see that somebody was saying that they're not. I think the newspapers recently said that the William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta are rarely seen in public together. But what I said is that the president is rarely seen in public, period. Forget being with William Ruto.
He's working.
I don't know what happened to the Uhuru Kenyatta that I knew. Yeah.
That's your perception.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it was his.
It was his. Yeah. So I do not know. Yes. But even me, maybe you should help me. We ask him what has happened.
Okay, then I'm going to ask a different
But
question.
what we know for a fact
Yeah.
is Uhuru Kenyatta's term is ending.
Right.
And there will be fresh candidates for 2022. And he's not going to be one of those candidates.
Is it the general feeling on the ground that certain groups then are being targeted by some of the things that we are now seeing? Is that a feeling that there is an element of being targeted?
Yes.
Why?
That's how the people feel. Because even when you remember, and I'll tell you what, this is just telling you what people at home are thinking. First, when they said, because William Ruto keeps going goes to church, contributes in churches, building churches and so on.
That's a good job there.
There was a time when they said they're going to pass a law to limit how much you'll give
Contribute to church.
churches. Then there was when the war on corruption started, people thought it was William being targeted. Then when the money was being changed, they said it is to make sure that the money, the war chest of money he has, it will now be he'll not have any money to be running around. So and of course people felt like he was being targeted. And even at that time, I was shocked when you hear a legislator saying they are going to pass a law to limit how much you give to church. How much we give to church is in the Bible. The Bible is our constitution. As a Christian, I will follow what the Bible says, not what you cannot legislate me to heaven. I follow even the pastor cannot tell me how much
you should give in his own church.
I decide by the spiritual guidance by the Bible. So we give in accordance to the Bible, not in accordance to legislation or a pastor telling you. So I was even surprised when we had what was the name of that bishop of ACK who said...
Let me cut you short, Gladys. Thank you very much. You've done very well getting into politics. You've actually learnt the ropes quite fast.
So I'm getting good at this, right?
My
I tell
goodness.
you.
Not getting.
You are.
You've
Getting,
reached.
not getting. And you use
must
this
have
platform
studied
to
very
put
well.
forward your cases excellently.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today, and we will invite you again. Of course, we said we'll invite you again as we go ahead, discussing the BBI, discussing the work of the National
And I
Assembly.
support my pesticide petition.
And the pesticide, especially that one, we'd like to know what exactly happens. Thank you very much as well for tuning in to the Situation Room this morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. You'll join us again tomorrow. We'll have a different set of guests. CT Muga, say goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, and let the discussions continue.
Let the discussion
And I
continue.
love this studio. It's very posh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go and tell the people in Eldoret to be watching actually on our
and
show.
listening.
And
Yes.
listening.
Yes.
Asante sana. We'll join
Thank
you.
you.
Join us again tomorrow between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. Now until 3, you have unlimited music. And then, of course, you have Monique, who will be here to take you home on Spice Drive between 3 and 7. And then the adults in the room, 7 o'clock to 10 p.m. Good morning.